I think the whole dragon themed event is great for the anniversary, and I'm a fan of the archetypes in general. Um, I think fighters are really solid in DDO right now. Like if you do, your fighter past lives, they're in a really good spot. And so this is just only going to make it better. And so we'll read through this, but the gist of it is that they get an imbue. So it's similar to Eldritch Knight. You pick an element, and then you apply that imbue to your attacks. So you can do acid or fire or cold, whatever the dragon type that you pick is, right? And you also get auras, kind of like a paladin. So you have an aura that might like give people PRR, and you can boost these as you level up. So we'll go through. We'll take a look at it.
Fighter Archetype, Dragon Lord Overview, based on the Dragon Lord Prestige class from 3.5e's Dragon Magic book. The Dragon Lord is a fighter archetype that models their tactics after the ferocity of dragons to demoralize and subdue their enemies. They excel in crowd control, defense, and draconic power. Internal design goals. Create an archetype that is dragon-themed for the D&D anniversary. Give an alternative take on fighter. Strong multiclass support. Class trees. New, Dragon Lord. Stalwart Defender. New, Ravager. This is a modified version of Barbarian's Ravager tree, which does not give or rely on rage. You cannot spend points in both this tree and Barbarian's version of Ravager at the same time. Class features dropped versus base fighter. Kensi, Vanguard trees. Dragon Lords do not innately get shield proficiency. That said, you have bonus feats and could take shield proficiency. Instead of a fighter bonus feats at class level 1, 8, and 16, you take a Draconic Aura feat.
Yeah, I know talking to people, they were upset that they didn't have access to Kensei. But we're hoping that the Ravager tree that they're adding makes up for the fact that they won't have access to Kensei. And then it is really weird that as a fighter, they don't have a shield proficiency. I don't understand why they did that, because that sort of like sword and board fighter is a thing that is just inherent as a fighter, right? It's not, but well, I agree. Yes, sure, you can take a feat. This archetype is losing feats because instead of bonus feats, they're getting an aura. They're getting like a bubble of an effect around them, and they'll tell us down here in the Draconic Aura what they actually are.
Class features gained versus base fighter. Will save progression moves from poor to good. New feats, Draconic Aura. At levels 1, 8, and 16, Dragon Lord select a Draconic Aura feat instead of a fighter bonus feat. You select one basic aura at level 1, one secondary aura at level 8, and one tertiary aura at level 16. These auras run constantly and simultaneously. It is intended that these morale bonuses do not stack with everything, especially low-level spells. Upgrades in the Dragon Lord tree eventually help these exceed the bonuses of those spells. We do not intend to change this to a unique typing. Feats available at DL1, Basic Aura. Nevalarich's Hunger, you and allies close to you get a +2 morale bonus to attack rolls. Orsakex's Defiance, you and allies close to you get a +2 morale bonus to saving throws. Thraxiter's Instinct, you and allies close to you get a +2 morale bonus to tactical feat DCS. Feats available at DL8, Secondary Aura.
Right, so one of the first things that I notice is that slightly a little worse than Paladin, right? Because I think Paladin's aura, just right out of the box, as a Paladin, you give people +2. I believe it's armor class, saving throws.
Vela's Fury, you and allies close to you get a +3 morale bonus to damage rolls. Sinvala's Toughness, you and allies close to you get a +3 morale bonus to PRR. Eternity's Ward, you and allies close to you get a +3 morale bonus to MRR. Feats available at DL16, Tertiary Aura. The truthful one's might. You and allies close to you get a +4 morale bonus to melee power. Orglarosa's Ascended Wrath. You and allies close to you get a +4 morale bonus to ranged power. Core Causa's Forbidden Power. You and allies close to you get a +4 morale bonus to universal spell power. Unless specifically listed, assume the class is otherwise identical to Fighter.
All right, so one of the things that I'm noticing is that these bonuses seem really low. And maybe you guys have input or maybe you disagree, but like +3 PRR at level 8. And I know that the core tiers allow you to upgrade these numbers.
Ravager tree. This tree is identical to the Barbarian Ravager tree, with the following exceptions. All abilities that scale with Barbarian level instead scale with Dragon Lord level. Dragon Lord Ravager's max HP and healing amplification bonuses from cores in the tree have been reduced by 50% to better balance with their access to Stalwart Defender. Core 1, Furious Rage, does not require you to be raging. Core 5, Subsiding Fury. Instead of triggering on Barbarian Rage, this triggers on using Second Wind. Tier 1, Barbarian Power Attack is renamed to not say Barbarian. Tier 1, Hardy Rage is replaced with Extra Action Boost, +1 to 2, 3. General Ravager changes in this update. These apply to both.
That's good, right?
Both Barbarian and Dragon Lord Ravager. Ravager's Visage of Terror now has a DC of 1d20 plus Intimidate score. Ravager's Visage of Terror no longer requires rage charges. Ravager's Cruel Cut now deals +20 or 30-40% damage in addition to its other effects. Ravager's Cruel Cut now has a 20-second cooldown, previously 30. Dragon Lord Tree. Cores. Core 1, Soul of the Dragon, Multi-Selector. Pick a Draconic Soul to commune with, which will influence the rest of your power in this tree. Passive, you gain +1 to Tactical Feat DCS. Red, Fire. White, Cold. Blue, Electric. Black, Acid. Green, Poison.
So you can see this aligns with Draconic Incarnation. It also aligns with the Eldritch Knight, although I don't think there's a poison Eldritch Knight, but there is a poison Alchemist. So this is really good. You can multi-class with those, Wizard or Alchemist, and benefit. And then I know each core that you go up starts adding imbue dice, so we'll take a look at that.
Core 2, Draconic Arms. You gain an imbue toggle that adds 1d6 damage of the type you selected for your Draconic Soul to your melee and ranged attacks. This damage scales with 200% of the higher of melee and ranged power. Passive, the bonus of all of your Draconic Auras increases by 1.
And Core 2, I believe you can take Core 2 at level 3, right? So that means that you could get your damage, you know, on your swing, but it also works on ranged too, right? So it may be that this is really good for ranged, like ranged imbue builds, maybe the new meta with this Dragon Lord. I mean, we're going to have to see. I'm not that impressed by these auras. Like here it goes up by 1, but...
Core 3, Reckless Devotion. Target ally gains a morale bonus to critical confirmation and critical hit damage equal to 1 + 1/4 of your Dragon Lord level for 20 seconds. 40-second cooldown. Passive, +5 melee and ranged power, +1 imbue die, +3 to critical hit confirmation and damage.
Yeah, see, that looks really good. That's level 6, right? So the passive is great. Like the passive 5 melee power, ranged power at level 6 is really good. 1 more imbue die. So now what, we're up to 3, right? We have the first one and then and this crit hit confirm built in that would stack with something else that you use to get that. So that's really good. And then apparently you get a cast of like a buff for an ally that allows you to increase their ability to hit. So like if you had a buddy who was on a different, like a regular fighter, you could target them with this 20-second buff if you were going into a fight or something like that.
Core 4, Conqueror's Command. When you use Reckless Devotion, the power of your Draconic Command grants that ally the effects of the Panacea spell, curing many afflictions and healing that ally for 1d6 plus 2 hit points plus 1 per Dragon Lord level. This healing scales with 200% of melee power. Passive, plus 1 imbue die, and the bonus of all of your Draconic Auras increases by 1.
So I'm not that super impressed by the core 4 passives. It's always nice to get one more imbue die, but we expected that, right? And we expected our aura to go up, but that's really it. They didn't really add anything else. They added a buff to this Reckless Devotion target that when you hit them with it, not only are they getting this boost, but they're getting a Panacea spell on them. So that basically gives you the ability to spot heal, like off heal your buddy. Panacea is a great spell. It's like a, a lesser version of heal, but it's once every 40 seconds. So it's not like you can actually become like a legitimate off healer. And the other thing too is, can you target yourself with this? Like, are you able to target yourself? Because a Panacea every 40 seconds would be really helpful for a fighter. But if you can't target it on yourself, then I think it's sort of like big deal. I mean, you need to be able to do it to yourself. It doesn't read like you can do it to yourself. We'll have to see what happens once it launches.
Core 5, Dragon's Defense. While you have any Draconic Aura active, you and nearby allies gain a plus 3 morale bonus to elemental resistance for the element of your Draconic Soul and plus 5% morale bonus to elemental absorption of the element of your Draconic Soul. Passive, plus 10 melee and ranged power, plus 1 imbue die.
Oh, guys, relax here with this one, right? A whole plus 3 fire resist. Core 5, that's level 18, right? So I think they might be breaking the game here, giving people 3 fire resist at level 18. I mean, from my perspective, again, this is just, if that were 30 or 10, like a stacking 10, but 3 is like what you give a person at level 2, not at level 18. The passive is good though. 10 melee and range power and an imbue die. That's good. We should have got 5 melee and range power in the core tier 4, but they didn't. But that's what I think, that's what they need to do. Like 5 here, 5 here, 10 here, and then you get another 10. So that's 10, 20, 30, right? That's good. That seems about right.
Core 6, Sunder Soul. Target sundered enemy must make a will saving throw. DC 10 plus highest of STR and CHA mod plus Sunder bonuses, or have their soul sundered, killing them instantly. If an enemy is killed by this, nearby enemies have a chance to be cowered for 6 seconds with no save. Passive, plus 2 strength, plus 2 charisma, plus 10 melee, and ranged power plus 2 imbue dice. And the bonus of all of your Draconic Auras increases by 2.
All right, I like this. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. It's only level 20. Right, so you hit level 20, you take your capstone. That's the capstone. And then that allows you to sunder a soul. Basically, it's like an assassinate based on your sunder bonuses. And fighters can get pretty high sunder bonuses. But is it actually going to be useful? Because 10 plus your strength or charisma plus your sunder versus, it doesn't say what they are, what their save would be versus this Sunder. I'm not sure what the mob Sunder save is, but it might be strength or it might be their fortitude or something like that. But it may be that this looks and sounds good, but that it's just impossible to actually use the killing blow. We're going to have to try it out. The other thing, too, that I'm wondering is this Sundering Soul, can you target with a ranged attack? So like this new AoE range thing, could I do a Sundering Soul attack on this AoE range thing? And then does every monster then have to make this will save or whatever? And, be instantly killed? Like, can I AoE kill a bunch of stuff, or is it only a melee attack? We're gonna have to see what that is. And the passive is okay. Again, I just think it's way too low. This should be a selector, 4 strength or 4 charisma, 10 melee range power. I think this should be 3 imbue dice, and I think that this Draconic Aura should increase by like 10. I think that it should be like a big boost, because we're not talking about an awful lot at level 20. If you add up all the other stuff, even if this was 10, I think that just caps all the bonuses out to like 15 or 20 for some of them. So in my opinion, this is not a very sexy core, but that's just my opinion. And so now this is the actual tree going up. So the tier 1 is the first row.
Tier 1. Dragon's Protection Eye, you gain +3 resistance to the element you selected for your Draconic Soul. Battlefield Tactician Eye, +1 to Tactical Feat DCS. Unbreakable Will, +1 and 2, 3 will saving throws. Skills, +1, 2, 3 to Intimidate, Jump, and Haggle. Rank 3, you gain +2 to attack. Martial Superiority, Multi-Selector. Deft Strikes, +3, 60, 10% offhand strike chance, Anti-Rec, Shindao, Sacred Fist Deft Strikes. Improved Second Strikes, +5, 10, 20% strike through, Anti-Rec, Kotk Improved Second Strikes. Strike Twice, +1, 2, 3% double strike. Shoot Twice, +1 and 2, 3% double shot.
These look okay. I mean, it's sort of an underwhelming tier 1. 3 resist, like, it doesn't say that this is a selector that you can increase. So again, 3 resist is not that much. 1 DC is not that much. I mean, if you're really stacking tactical DCs, you want everyone you can get, but I don't know if this is also that you can add to it. It doesn't say it. It says here you can do 1, 2, 3, but it doesn't say that on these. So think about it like if you multi-classed and you were just splashing into this tree. Is any of this stuff super sexy? I don't think so. I mean, I like the double shot, double strike, strike through, offhand. It's okay.
Double Shot, Tier 2. Dragon's Protection 2, you gain +3 resistance to the element you selected for your Draconic Soul. Battlefield Tactician 2, +1 to Tactical Feat DCS. Draconic Resilience, +2 for 6 natural armor. Action Boost, Multi-Selector. Action Boost, Tactics, for 20 seconds, gain +3, 69 action boost bonus to Sunder, Trip, and Stun DCS. Action Boost, Haste, activate to gain +10% to +20%, +30% action boost bonus to attack speed for 20 seconds.
It looks like every tier they give you a little bit more resistance in whatever element you've picked, but it's not going to wind up being a lot. I'm not sure it's even substantial unless it's stacking, but even then, like, like the boots that you can get out in 3-Barrel Cove give you like sovereign fire resist, right? That's stacking. So I mean, I'm just not impressed by that. Natural armor is a complete waste because you get natural armor on gear. +1 tactical DC seems like it should be +2. This selector is good because, yeah, all right, it's similar to the selector that is in Vistani. And then favorite enemy, dragon. Okay, that's great, but there's not a lot of dragons in DDO, so
20 seconds. Dragon Slayer, you gain favored enemy, Dragon. Tier 3. Dragon's Protection 3, you gain +3 resistance and 5% absorption to the element you selected for your Draconic Soul. Battlefield Tactician 3, +1 to Tactical Feat DCS and Breath Weapon DCS. When you attack with Trip or Sunder, or their improved variants, you deal 1d for additional damage per character level of the element you selected for your Draconic Soul. This damage scales with 200% melee or ranged power. Dragon's Roar, tactical feat, enemies in a cone ahead of you must make a will saving throw. DC 10 plus highest of STR and CHA mod plus stunning bonuses plus breath weapon DC bonuses, or be dazed for 6 seconds. Affected enemies have a 25% chance to be broken out of the daze on damage. 20-second cooldown.
All right, so that sounds really cool. This Dragon's Roar tactical feat. It's like a cone, a will save cone in front of you that may function kind of like a stun, like a color spray. DC breath bonus, stun bonus, and they're dazed for 6 seconds. It's got 20 seconds is an awful long cooldown for something like this, but it may be, it may be a useful CC. We're going to have to see. But I like that sort of stuff. So it looks like they're building breath weapon DCs into this as well. And so then this tree may benefit from whatever the new Draconic Incarnation Epic Destiny is. Not for the spell casting, but because you can boost like your CC ability with this dragon stuff that you're getting here. Saying that this is ranged friendly, we'll let.
Also note, this is a tactical feat, but you don't make an attack as part of this. No damage. Ranged user friendly. Trance, multi-selector. Might in order, cannot be used while raging. Battle trance, you gain an insight bonus to attack, damage and the DC of tactical feats equal to 1/2 of your strength modifier for 30, 60 to 120 seconds. Each time you successfully use Trip, Sunder, Stunning Blow, or Dragon's Roar, or their improved variants, you have a chance to restore 1 charge. Draconic Conviction, no restrictions. Battle trance, you gain an insight bonus to attack, damage and the DC of tactical feats equal to 1/2 of your charisma modifier for 30, 60 or 120 seconds. Each time you successfully use Trip, Sunder, Stunning Blow, or Dragon's Roar, or their improved variants, you have a chance to restore 1 charge. Ability score, multi-selector. STR. CHA.
I like this. I like the trance. The trances are great. It's tier 3 to get this trance. It's a bit high. But I think Harper Tree's trance is tier 3 as well. I think Falconry's is also, although Falconry's might be tier 4. But yeah, it's really helpful to have a trance. I'm glad that they put one in here. And it's nice that it's strength or charisma. That's really good, especially if you're like a paladin who's charisma based or something. Splashing into this like multi-classing.
Tier 4. Dragon's Protection 4, you gain +3 resistance and 5% absorption to the element you selected for your Draconic Soul. Battlefield Tactician 4, +1 to Tactical Feat DCS and Breath Weapon DCS. When you sunder enemies, it makes them vulnerable to the element of your Draconic Soul for 10 seconds. Additionally, if you successfully sunder, or improved sunder, a target under the effects of Trip, or improved Trip, that target takes an additional 1d6 damage per character level of the element you selected for your Draconic Soul. This damage scales with 200% melee or ranged power.
This sounds really good. I mean, this sounds like you could, let's say you took frost, like you took ice as your element, and you run up and you do your breath weapon onto these things. It strips off the mob's immunity to cold for 10 seconds. So technically, like you could breath weapon on a bunch of undead and then do like a whirlwind attack, and because your imbue dice are going to hit all frost damage on this undead, you just stripped off their immunity. Can you just now kill all the skeletons with a single attack because they're all taking your cold damage now? Scaling at 200% of your melee or ranged seems really good. Like, the other thing too is if this works on ranged, that's even better because you could do one of those new AoE attacks, right? You do your breath weapon and then hit them with that new AoE. Seems like, one of the biggest downsides of taking cold is that you can't hurt undead with it, right? So if this allows you to use it, That might be really good. Or poison, the same thing, right? Not everything takes poison damage. So we'll have to see. But this may actually be like really good tier 4 for this.
Untouchable Soul, you have Displacement, giving opponents a 50% chance to miss you due to concealment. This cannot be dispelled.
What? Wait. Hold on a second, chat. Wait, are we seeing that? Did he just say that tier 4 you get permanent 50% displacement? You don't have to go tier 5 Fey Dark Illusionist to get this. You don't have to be a Druid Hive Master. That is really, really good. Really, really good. 50% in heroics, because you can access this tier 4. I mean, who knows what tier 4 access is right off. What is tier 4 access for us, guys? You know, is it level 6? Level 7 or 8, somewhere around there? Like, or am I wrong? Is it level 4? It might be level 4, actually, right? So what this says to me is that you can get 50% displacement like in low heroics. Like you're running around in waterworks with permanent displacement. Right? None of those monsters until you get into like upper heroics have true seeing. That's insane. That might be the best thing about this, and I'm hoping that they don't change that. I'm hoping they leave that, because this right there may be the reason to play this. Or at least, let's say, make doing fighter pass lives easy.
Lead the charged melee rush attack, rush forward up to 30 feet to your selected opponent and deliver a plus 20%, 30%, 50%, W, strike. 12-second cooldown. Shares cooldown with shield charge. Note, this works with any melee weapon, and not just a shield.
Guys, I honestly think that they just left the reservation. Like, I'm not even sure the same person who's been doing these updates put in these two right here. These are so good. So they're going to give you, so if you can jump forward 30 feet, that's really good also. Like that's a really good, especially if like you can target, let's say in Waterworks, you know how you go down into that area and there are the Cobalt casters up top throwing lightning bolts down at your head. If you can leap up to one, like Star Wars, The Old Republic's Juggernaut, you know, just leap. That this may be these two things right here may put this into like an A or an S tier category for an archetype. We're gonna have to game play test this, but these two things right here sound like this thing's gonna be off the hook.
This is identical to the KOTC one, though slightly higher up.
Okay, so it exists in Knight of the Chalice. I don't think I've used it. Maybe you guys have tried Knight of the Chalice. Yeah, the Force Leap from Star Wars The Old Republic. Awesome. I loved it. I used it on my Juggernaut all the time. Do people use it on Knight of the Chalice in DDO? I don't know. I mean, I did Paladin past lives, but it was a while ago. So the fact that you can do this jump every 12 seconds, though, that's even better.
Ability score, multi-selector. STR. CHA. Tier 5. Soul Scales, you gain plus 15 magical resistance rating. Plus 25% competence bonus to max HP, and you have a 5% chance to ignore damage of the element you selected for your Draconic Soul.
Okay, so this is where, all the all the good stuff is, right? The tier 5 is whether you decide whether or not you're going to like really invest in this tree, whether it's worth your time or not. 15 MRR is sort of like, who cares? I mean, it's nice. Yeah, obviously it's nice, but who cares? We want the damage. We want survivability. We want stuff. So seeing 25% competence to hit points is awesome. That's fantastic. I'm glad we see that. And then 5% ignore damage for the element. I see that as very good because that is like an epic feat. Let's see if there's more worth taking in this tier 5 or if that's pretty much it. So far, that's okay. Like if you were on hardcore, 25% competence to hit points and 5% chance to ignore fire damage, let's say. If you're fighting Forge Wraiths as an example, that's really good.
Tactical Commander, the cooldowns of your trip, Sunder, Stunning Blow, and Dragon's Roar, and their improved versions, are reduced by 33%. Improved Dragon's Roar, your Dragon's Roar.
All right, we'll start this one over again, but that Tactical Commander, the cooldown of Trip, Sunder, Stunning Blow, and the Dragon's Roar, and that Dragon's Roar is that thing we were talking about earlier that not only does it CC mobs with the daze, but it strips off their damage immunity. And now you've got it up. So let's go and look. So 33%. This is it right here. And it was a 20-second cooldown. What's 33% off of 20 seconds, right? It's like this now goes to down to what, like 14 seconds ish, somewhere around there. That's a lot better because that means that if it's like, let's say it's 14 seconds now, this damage stripping lasts for 10 seconds. So really then you only have to wait 4 seconds before you can do it again. It's really good.
Improved Dragon's Roar, your Dragon's Roar now cowers enemies instead of dazing them. In addition, when you use Dragon's Roar, you gain a plus 20% morale bonus to damage versus helpless targets for 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, so they just keep making this roar attack, this cone in front of you even better because now you're, instead of dazing them, you're cowering them, which basically means that they are frozen in fear and they're going to take 20% more damage versus helpless. And they're also taking you're forcing them to take all of your elemental damage. So if like it was a group of skeletons, you're blasting them with your ice damage and they have to take the damage.
Flight of Kings, anti-wreck Dragonborn version of the same memories of flight lie within you. You are able to leap through the air to bring the fight to your enemies or traverse chasms that make normal adventure balk. Cooldown, 15 seconds. When you use Flight of Kings, you gain a plus 20% action boost bonus to movement speed for 6 seconds.
I mean, that's really good too. It's unfortunate that they didn't make it more like Favored Soul, where you got like 5 charges and you can do it once every 3 seconds. This is more like Draconic Incarnation, where, okay, yeah, you get a leap every 15 seconds. It's nice to have, but does it allow you to keep up with your buddies who are all winging ahead on Exalted Angel or as Favored Souls? No. Especially now that they are changing the way that experimental tumble works. You know, everybody's going to get a lot slower. So, but it does sound like doing this is good, better than on another class, because you're getting a 20% action boost. Action boost stacks with all of your other, just basically like a personal Purple Dragon Knight boost. And it's a little better because I think the PDK one is 15 and this is 20. And it lasts for 6 seconds. So that's good. So that means that they're not going to be as fast as monks or bards, but they would be able to sort of do their wings and run around.
Conqueror, plus 1/2 competence bonus to critical multiplier with all weapons.
Okay, that sounds okay, but I'm wondering why it's a half and not +1, like a full 1 +1 competence bonus. That seems weird to me because that's a tier 5. So that tier 5 you can get at level 12, right?
Past life, you were a dragon lord in a past life. Others find you strangely compelling when you speak or take to the battlefield. Each time you acquire this feat you gain +1 damage with melee weapons and +1 breath weapon DC. This feat can be stacked up to 3 times.
So that's a really good past life, right? I mean, +1 damage with melee weapons. I think that's similar to the monk's past life, right? I think the monk gets +2 damage per past life. I think. It's been a while. And then the +1 breath DC. So that means that like a caster would probably want to get this if you were using Draconic, if Draconic is still viable after this launches, you know. But it also would be good if this turns out to be a really strong archetype and this roar turns out to be a really good CC and damage buff, like damage stripper. Then having 3 of these past lives would be good to make it stick, right? So
We haven't changed a lot with Preview 2, outside of a lot of bug fixing, but have made the following changes. Untouchable Soul now properly gives full displacement. Strike twice and shoot twice have been reduced to +1, 2, 3% double strike and double shot, respectively. Draconic Outburst, SDR Trance, has been renamed to Might in Order. Might in Order, SDR Trance, no longer has an alignment restriction, and instead cannot be used while raged.
and these changes here are like they're balancing these auras and how they are played.
Known issue, this can't be used in this preview, as it always believes you're raging. Which, while funny, will be fixed. Draconic Outburst, CHA Trance, has been renamed to Draconic Conviction. Draconic Conviction, CHA Trance, no longer has an alignment restriction. Might in Order and Draconic Conviction now properly add to attack. Dragon's Defense has had its imbued dice reduced from 2 to 1. Soul Sunder has had its imbued dice increased from 1 to 2. Dragon's Roar can now properly be used while raging. Battlefield Tactician for now has an immunity stripping effect in addition to its previous effects. The ability now reads, +1 to tactical feat DCS and breath weapon DCS. When you sunder enemies, it makes them vulnerable to the element of your Draconic Soul for 10 seconds. Additionally, if you successfully sunder, or improved sunder, a target under the effects of trip, or improved trip, that target takes an additional 1d6 damage per character level of the element of your Draconic Soul. This damage scales with 200% melee or ranged power.
That's really crazy, actually, because that means that if you did like cold damage on your imbue, you can force undead, as an example, to take that cold damage. That's really good. I'm wondering if you could work that in. It says Battlefield Technician 4, but if you use this as like an off enhancement tree, I'm wondering if you could mix this with a caster tree and use that to strip the immunity. I'm wondering. We'll have to see what we can play around with that tree.
Dragon's Roar now properly only applies a cower effect if you actually have improved Dragon's Roar as described. The release notes for the Dragon Lord tree now properly list the ranged power present in later core abilities. It was correct in-game in Preview 1. Improved Dragon's Roar now adds when you use Dragon's Roar. You gain a +20% morale bonus to damage versus helpless targets for 20 seconds to its existing effect. Fixed some text in Dragon Lord abilities. Flight of Kings, T5 Leap, now properly applies its speed boost effect.
Yeah, alright, so it sounds like this tree is definitely going to be interesting. %20 morale bonus versus helpless is really good. Ravager stuff is here because one of the trees that they give you access to is a modified version of Barbarian's Ravager. You don't need to be raging to access any of this stuff. All right, so we'll take a look at the actual archetype itself.